So recently, and very recently, you've been hearing a lot about how in a no deal scenario, what we'll do, especially from the likes of Liam Fox, you hear this nonsense scenario that all we'll have to do is we'll just put zero tariffs on and we'll be fine. Britain will be fine. Brexit will be fine. We'll survive that way. This is completely dumb. One of the biggest problems you're dealing with a lot of these people who are free trade fundamentalists is that they are basically dealing with a incredibly lazy knowledge of economics and how it works. Because here's the thing, you put tariffs of goods coming into this country at 0%, what's the knock-on effect? So the first thing is that goods will be cheaper. Yeah, congratulations, goods will be cheaper. But then what about all the domestic industries in this country that deal with exporting to other countries? Because here's the thing, you cannot control tariffs to another country. If you're selling, let's take this. You're selling this. So what is this essentially? Well, it's essentially cork with a bit of card with, Yorkshire on. So what if you want to, sell this to the US? Let's say it costs you, let's keep things simple. Let's say it costs you £1 to make it. Probably doesn't, but, let's keep things simple. Cost you £1 to make it. Now, obviously, it's got to travel. There are logistical costs in getting it to America. So immediately, your £1 product probably has to have, again, let's say, another £1 on top of it. So that's £2 just to get it to America. Now, bear in mind, it hasn't entered America yet, but it's that extra £1 just to get it to America. Then you've got an interesting thing. Because what if, for example, so this is made of cork. So what if, let's say, there's a 50% tariff on all cork goods entering America. Well, that's another £3 on top of it. It's not, but so you have this mat that's essentially cost you £1 to make, another £1 just to send to America. You've then got to pay £3 more for it to pass through customs, and it is now officially in America. That has cost you £5 just to make the product, to get it to America, and then to pass through customs for it to be actually in America. Now, you've got to think on top of that, you're going to probably have to pay another £1 to get it to wherever it's going to be sold in America. So eventually, this thing, when it comes to America, costs £6. Right? So this now costs £6 compared to when you were just selling it in the UK at £1. And by the way, you cannot rely on a domestic market to have a fully functional, growing company. It is just not feasibly possible because your company will only ever be able to rely on the domestic market. And not everyone in your domestic market is going to want your Yorkshire, cork beer mat. It's not possible. That is just not how business is done. So, anyway, back to America. So this is now in American shops for £6. Now here's the thing. It costs you, again, £1 to make it. pound to logistically get it to America, another 3 because it's made of cork, so you have to pay that tariff. Now it's on £5. You're paying another £1 on top of that to get it onto store shelves. So it's now cost £6. What should you be retailing it at to get your money back? For every sale of one of these, bearing in mind it's already costing you £6 just to get it to store shelves. So let's say you sell it at what, £10, equivalent what, US dollars, even whatever. But let's keep this simple. You're selling it at now £10, meaning that for every one of these you sell, you're now gaining £4 profit. But remember, you're selling it at £10. Whereas, for example, someone in Canada has a trade agreement with the US and goes, well, £1 to make it, £1 to export it, we've got a trade agreement, it costs us £3, we'll sell it for 5, we'll make £2 on it, and by the way, we can send more over there for cheaper and more people are likely to buy it. Not only that, you are also probably going to have to compete in a domestic market. So remember, I said this cost £1 to make. So even Canada, if it's selling, goods to America, with it again through that trade deal, it costs them 3 to get it there. They're selling it at 5. A domestic producer may just sell it at 3 and be making £2 profit. It's not that simple. Economics are not that simple, and that's just this one thing. It gets really, really complicated because there is a ton of things underneath and going on beneath the surface that I haven't even talked about. For example, what if, it's made of cork, but you can see there's like a little glossy sheen on it? What's the price on that to put these on, 1,000 of these? There's more cost involved, because then let's do this in reverse. Your company is now selling products for £1 in the UK, and you've got 0% tariff barriers. That means a French company, an American company, a Canadian company let's keep it that you're selling these in like a unit. So it's 1,000 per unit again, and you make you sell it for, I don't know, let's go for 3 again, keep it simple. But now you've got competitors who are not from your market, who have 0% tariff barriers, who can come in and just go, well, we want to completely corner your market, so we're going to send, instead of 1,000, we're going to send 5,000 per unit, and we're going to sell them at £1, dramatically undercutting the internal market, cornering it. The British company can't compete, and I've dropped it, but poof, there goes, the Yorkshire, let's call it the Yorkshire Beer Mat Company. Bang go all those jobs, and now you are relying permanently on overseas export because you've got 0% tariff barriers, and your domestic market for producing not only Yorkshire versions of these, but any version is now gone. Domestically, the domestic producers can't compete. Tariffs are what you have in your country to be able to protect your native industries. The EU has done this very well for years. We are now out of the EU, and you've got these idiot free trade fundamentalists going, oh yeah, we'll have 0% tariff barriers because, you know, it worked in like the 1870s. They are absolute lunatics. They have no knowledge whatsoever of modern economics, the the complexity of these systems and how they work. And I gave a very, very basic introduction because that's how I've read it and how I've come to understand it. Now, I may be wrong, and someone will say, well, you're wrong on that because it might work a bit like this. That's fine. I've tried to give the most bare bones basic example. But the problem is, you've got, again, idiot Brexiteers, people like Nigel Farage, Boris Johnson, Michael Gove, Dominic Raab, Liam Fox, you name them, thinking that somehow that is a good idea and it will just destroy Britain's remaining economic productivity. And if you're working in a service industry, then you've got it even worse, because when all those British companies fail, because remember, under the European Union Single Market Agreement, we can now sell services, and especially if you're selling a service to someone in Holland, you don't get taxed for 30% of, no, it's 35% of what you make before you get taxed. That's now gone. So any company in Holland that wants, I don't know, marketing, financial, PR, whatever, something that's a service, not actual a product that's made, they're now not going to come to the UK to get that advice. They'll just go somewhere else because they're getting paid, have to pay more tax to use your service in a country that is no longer in the single market. So don't think that if you're not in the manufacturing industry that you somehow won't be affected, because you will. If you don't believe me, the EU since last year has been producing sector by sector industry requirements for EU businesses on what they should do to prepare for a no deal. They're all there of what the EU countries are going to do to basically to prepare for a no deal. And even in their catastrophe analysis of what if a no deal happens, basically they've said it's only going to affect us for a week. That's the EU saying that. But yeah, the idea of these idiots, and again we talked about this before about how it's this longing, this idea, this this British spirit that will somehow see us through. It's not. You need to think rationally, and somehow thinking that you're somehow this great amazing thing when Britain clearly isn't anymore. It's not a world power. It's not a superpower. It doesn't have any hard power protection. Brexit has pretty much lost all our soft power protection. Brexit will not make this country great ever. It will just pile on problems and make the problems that already exist even worse. Austerity being one. The lack of, infrastructure development, business development in areas, economic investment into business areas like the Yorkshire region, which, by the way, has been suffering, miners' strikes since 1978. You've then got compiled on that the economic crash. Again, things were looking better. Now you've had Brexit, which has pretty much destroyed all that. And if you don't believe me how bad this is getting, the HMR, Her Majesty's Treasury, has basically been selling off pounds to buy euros because it's a more stable currency than the pound. Don't believe me? Go look it up. But there we are.